I think we'll go ahead and get started if we may. Hi everybody, I'm Jerry Corcoran, the very proud president of Illinois Valley Community College, and I'm delighted that you're with us this afternoon. As I was saying to my friend Mike Phillips a couple of minutes ago, really this is something that has come about as a result of a Teach Out program that we offered on campus about a week and a half ago. And kind of a little background on that. The way that came about was there were a number of faculty members and staff who wanted to do everything they could to make sure that their voices were heard across the district. That the funding situation for the state of Illinois is such that it left us in a very awkward position last fiscal year. And as we wrap things up for this fiscal year, we can't take another year like that. You know, at the end of the day, if you look back over the 10-year history of funding to the community colleges, and particularly Illinois Valley Community College, we've always been in about the $3 million range. It's varied between $3 and $4 million per year is the amount of money that we've had each year to provide support for this college. And as many of you have heard me say in the past, when the community college system was begun, the idea was supposed to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 from the state, from the property taxpayer, and from the student. And what's happened is we've seen a disturbing trend where it's less and less support from the state, and so that triggers the funding necessity to the student and to the property taxpayer. So I want to first of all tell you that a week and a half ago we had our discussion here, and I could tell, I'm sure Mike would agree with me, that the response from people was clearly, you know, what more can we do? We've got to make sure that our voices are heard. To whom should we speak? What should we say? How does this really affect IVCC? And so that led to our reaching out to our 14 legislators in the IVCC district. We have 6 state senators, 6 senators and 8 representatives. And as I was saying, I'll get to introducing Representative Long in a minute, but as he and I were visiting beforehand, in every community college in the state is covered. You know, there is no question. Let me make sure that's not my First rule of thumb, shut off the phone. If that's the only thing that goes bad today, that'll be just fine. But at the end of the day, you know, we have 6 senators and 8 representatives, and every community college has their key representative and their key state senator. And I'm happy that Representative Jerry Long is with us today. And he's done a great job, actually, of attending lots of functions on campus and meeting, as I look at my colleague Corey Thomas, and meeting with the student representatives on Student Advocacy Day. And Senator Rezin has done likewise as well. So Senator Rezin and Representative Long are the 2 key legislators that we need to make sure hear what's going on at IVCC. And they've both been equally receptive and supportive, and I feel very confident that when they're in Springfield, IVCC's interests are well served. So anyway, I want to make sure that Representative Long is able to join us today, and I'm glad that he is. And I wanted you, Representative Long, to hear from our students, our faculty, and our staff about our concerns, because I know that that's exactly what you need to be able to carry back to the General Assembly, the importance of IVCC and funding for our community college district. I also have to my right, I couldn't be happier to introduce Jay McCracken and Angie Stevenson, 2 of our newly elected members of our Board of Trustees, next to our longtime faculty member and former faculty president, Mike Phillips. So everybody's going to say a few words, but if I may, we're here to serve students. And so I would be delighted if we could have our new student trustee, Matt Mahowski, speak first. Matt, could you kind of share your thoughts as to, on behalf of the student body, and then maybe to be followed by Sarah Tipton, our former student trustee. If you'd like to go first, that'd be great. Matt, please.
Thank you, Jerry. So at IVCC, we're in a really bad predicament with the budget. As Jerry said, we usually get 1/3 of our funding from the state. And for about the last 2 years, the state hasn't even attempted to make a budget, basically. And it should be a nonpartisan issue, but two sides just don't want to work together. And that's affecting many students most prominently the MAP program at IVCC. So MAP is an award for low-income students that are going into college, and it's a state-funded program. Since there's no budget going through, these kids aren't getting the MAP grants. Now IVCC has stepped up and funded the MAP grants, and I know many smart kids would not be able to go to college if it weren't for these MAP grants funded by IVCC. But we can only fund the MAP grants for so long at IVCC. And what that means is either we have to raise our tuition prices, which we had this past year, or we have to have some help from the state come through. And the budget, I'm not sure how to say it, but it should be the most prominent issue. It should be at the top of the list for the state legislators and everyone working in the state. And I hope that the budget passes soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Good job. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sarah Tipton, our outgoing student trustee. Sarah.
Hi everyone, I would just like to echo Matt's words, and obviously the budget is very important. What I sat through the board meetings this past year was that we lost, obviously the MAP grant is very important, but we also lost a lot of other aspects to the college, such as the reading and writing center, and we saw that how that impacted other students as well. I guess I have a friend actually who's being impacted by this right now. She's struggling. She's an incoming freshman, and she doesn't know how she's going to pay for college. I don't know how to explain this so well, but I just know that it's affecting her, and it's probably affecting a lot more students. So I think that this needs to be done, and that it's very important that this is on top of the list. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Phillips.
So, as a faculty member, we kind of see the big picture on this. We see our students come and go. And right now, at the end of the semester, one of the things that's really striking is we see our students getting ready to transfer on to universities. And at the same time, for me personally, my daughter's a high school senior, and she's looking, where is she going to go for the next 2 years, the next 4 years? I'm very happy to say that she's going to come here. But one of the reasons why she's coming here is because higher education in Illinois has gotten very, very expensive. As the state has pulled back on funding for higher education, the response has been to raise tuition. And there's only so much you can do raising tuition. You start to drive students out of the state. I have the good fortune to have been selected to serve on the Faculty Advisory Council for the Illinois Board of Higher Education. And this is not just impacting IVCC, it's impacting every higher education institution in the state, and not just the public institutions, but the private schools as well, because the MAP grants help fund the students that want to go to a private school. And some people ask, well, why do we have so many different institutions of higher education in Illinois? We all serve different populations of students. Different students have different needs, and they select these institutions over the years based on the needs that those institutions are able to serve. A student that goes to Western is going there for some very specific programs that Western excels at. The students that go to Eastern or Southern or Illinois State or the University of Illinois go to those institutions because of the programs they have and the student population that they serve. And what we're seeing now statewide is a decimation of the structure that was built up really over the course of 150 years. If you go back to the mid-1800s, that's when we started opening these schools around the state. The most recent big addition was the community colleges, which were added in the 1960s. And this lack of funding is just a very slow, and now it's kind of speeding up, decimation. And in response, we see students leaving the state. A lot of people have said, Illinois is losing population. Why is that? Why is that? Well, we're losing, we have a net loss of probably in this coming year will be close to 20,000 or more high school seniors leaving the state. Overall, we're seeing over 30,000 Illinois high school seniors leave the state, but other students come in to take their place. But we're putting ourselves in a position where other students aren't coming here because we've raised the tuition and we're cutting programs. And if you're a student that's looking to transfer or to go in as a freshman, you're going to be wondering, is that program that I want at Western going to be there in 2 years or 4 years when I graduate? And we see this in our students, and then we look around at our fellow faculty members, not just here at IVCC, but across the state. And we're losing high-quality faculty members and high-quality programs as community colleges and universities cut back on their programs because of a lack of funding. And this is just a downward spiral. As you cut programs, students look and say, well, that's not a place I want to go. And then so the student population declines, and then the money declines, and then the programs decline some more. I'm not sure where this ends, but it really needs to end soon if we want to save higher ed in Illinois. I think there was an article in the Tribune today that somebody sent me. Illinois ranks number 50 out of 50 states in funding for higher education. And if you want to know what a big problem is for Illinois' future, if we're not educating our people and keeping our young people here in the state, what's the future of business in Illinois if there aren't any people to work in those businesses? So that's why we had the Teach Out a couple of weeks ago, is just to try to emphasize and call attention to this problem that's growing. We look at other states and they're looking for ways to provide a college education at little or no cost to graduating high school seniors. They recognize the need to keep those high school seniors in the state getting a higher education, because those are the people that are going to produce the new jobs of the future. So that's why we're having this, so that we can, discuss this with Representative Long and kind of get the word out into the community. And I think some of us are going to be going down to Springfield again over the next few weeks, just to try to reinforce this message that this really can't go on for another year. We need to fund higher education, and we need to recognize that it's not just a cost, that it's an investment. So.
Well said. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I would ask that Jay McCracken talk about things from the board standpoint. This would be great. Thank you, Jay. And I know you work closely with Senator Risen quite a bit too.
Yes,
so
I
I'm sure Steve Porter will share your thoughts as well.
Thank you, Jerry. Good afternoon. I just want to reflect in one moment to begin the speech here this afternoon. That is, no matter how many experiences you have in life, have you ever noticed when you start something brand new that you can suddenly feel like a freshman in high school all over again? Well, that's kind of where Angie and I are this afternoon. I was kind of urging her. I said, "You sure you don't want to speak on my behalf?" And she said, "No, I don't think so." Bear with me. I have some notes. I'm not quite as accomplished as several others have been already today. I am very honored, and I know I can say this for Angie as well, to be here with you as one of the new members of the IVCC Board of Trustees. We are honored to be recently elected, and we both have a lot to learn. We come to this with broad experiences in various realms, but we have a lot to learn here at IVCC. But we are very honored to be a part of such an amazing team. And that includes the students, includes the faculty, the board, administration. We are very fortunate to join this team. Almost a year ago, I retired as a Putnam County School Superintendent. It's hard to believe it's been almost a year. During my 8 years as superintendent of schools, I learned a lot about state funding, sometimes more than I wanted to know. Hopefully my experience as a former school superintendent dealing with public education will help as I work with President Corcoran and the Board of Education, administration, staff, and students. Education funding reform has become an immensely important topic around the state, and even more so right in our Capitol building where it should be. Of course, much of the discussion and funding legislation centers around K-12 public education, as it should. The latest bill, Senate Bill 1124, introduced by Senator Jason Barrett, and how many of you have heard of that bill? You've heard of that one? It doesn't impact college funding as much, but it actually affects K-12 public education a lot. And it's strongly also supported by Senator Sue Resin. And I compliment those individuals as well as Representative Long and others who are supporting bills of that nature to do education funding reform, because it's been out of balance for a long time. They are truly examining ways to create fair and equitable funding for education at a time where our state has almost no dollars to deal with. While our legislators are examining K-12 educational funding, we urge them to also explore fair funding and support for community colleges in our great state. As many of you are aware, as Dr. Corcoran shared earlier, IVCC took a big fiscal hit in FY16 when our state support that had historically been $3 to $4 million suddenly was dropped to $612,000. That's a big hit. Knowing from managing a $10 million budget, smaller than, of course, IVCC's budget, but Putnam County, we even had a $10 million budget, and knowing from that experience what a hit of that nature, several million dollars, does to a budget is astounding. We need a lifeline or a stopgap budget to finish fiscal year 2017 and a fiscal projection from our state that would provide adequate funding for FY 2018. The IVCC board took a strong stand to support MAP grants, as was explained earlier, and this commitment has been made for this year as well. And I'm proud of the former Board of Education and administration for taking that stand. The state budget impasse has created a scenario in which IVCC could suddenly have a $500,000 hit again of MAP funds that are not part, if they're not part of the FY 2017 wrap-up, and we don't know that yet, do we? So we need the state of Illinois to fund MAP grants and provide their fair share of operating funds as well. Community colleges such as IVCC provide the most affordable, highest quality way for our students to earn a degree and skills to succeed in life. So why would we ever want to take that away? It is the most successful way for young people to get a head start in life, and for those adults who are out of work to be able to regain skills. I started in a community college myself, so I know what kind of money was saved for me many, many years ago. So it's now more important than ever for all of us to join together as a board of trustees, administration, staff, students, to have our collective voices heard. Let's seek the state support so they do not help us lose any other valuable programs that we have right now. We maintain that appropriate education funding is absolutely critical, and that the very future of our state may be determined by the action or inaction of our government in the coming days and months. We know the job of our legislators is tough, and we certainly respect what Representative Long, Senator Resin, and others are doing. We know it's not an easy task that they have before them, but as several students have said today and others, we need to be at the top of the list. And we thank you all for caring and for your attendance today, and let's forge ahead, work together to make a real difference. And I invite, for those of you who are in the audience, I invite any of you who are interested in serving on an ad hoc committee, and I'm sure that President Corcoran would be glad to have assist with this process. We invite you to become a part of this and become actively involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Jay. And now, as I was introducing Jean Batson-Turner to Representative Long earlier, Jean, if you'd like to say a few words, and then a student from your program as well, I know that we'd appreciate your comments, and I can guarantee you that to my left, Representative Long is keeping copious notes as to what he's hearing today, and he'll probably have a few thoughts to share with us as we wrap up. So Jean Batson-Turner, if you go ahead, please. Thank you.
15 years ago, I was hired to develop a much-needed human services program here at IVCC. a needs assessment had already been completed in the community. And it was obvious that if our social service agencies were to survive and continue to thrive, they would need to have trained staff who did not have a master's degree, because many, they were not able to afford that level. So I was hired to develop an associate degree in applied science in human services. I have been very appreciative of the opportunity to be here at IVCC with amazing faculty, staff, and particularly my amazing students. My amazing students have faced many obstacles to be here. As many of my students in this program want to make a difference in our communities. They have no plans to leave Illinois, unlike many that you stated earlier in the presentations. They are adult students, and they have families, they have commitment here, and they want to make a difference in our communities here. Many of my students have said with this recent political stalemate that they are afraid that they will not be able to continue their college education. And for them, their whole career plan will be interrupted with little flexibility for a restart. This saddens me tremendously because in the family in which I was socialized, I was privileged to have education as number one. In my mom's family, it was a family of 12 siblings. This is a post-Depression story. Each one of those siblings worked the next one in line through college when they got their college degree. It was my grandfather that I never knew who was the educator in the family. He worked very hard to make sure those siblings had the best education possible. He would review their homework every night. And so that we have stories. And so with an educational legacy like that, frankly, I am still in shock to be living in a time and place when state colleges and universities are at risk of closing. I cannot wrap my mind and my heart around such a devastation. I think it is important for you to put political agendas aside and listen with empathy to a representative voice of one of these students whose education and career will be interrupted if we cannot get a budget.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Teresa Gama, and as I shared last time here with some of you, I came from Mexico when I was 17 years old. I didn't have any education, so I came here to the IVCC. I learned English. I went to the adult education. I learned English in 2 years. Then I got my GED. But then obviously, you know, like life happens. I went out there to raise 4 children on my own, and I had 2 jobs. But on the year 2015, I had a surgery, and I couldn't go back to work at factories like 14 hours a day. So I decided to come here, and I applied for financial aid like several times because I didn't know anything about computers, internet, nothing at all. So I had to learn, and I made so many mistakes when I applied. But finally, one time I got a call, and they asked me, well, your financial aid has been approved. Are you going to go to college? I said, well, yeah. So I came here. But obviously, I had to start, you know, with the basic classes like English 900, literature comprehension, and stuff like that. So I was kind of down because those hours doesn't count. They don't count. So anyway, so I kept going, and then I took some classes, and I was getting ready to quit. But I had wonderful instructors, and some of them are here right now, and they helped me to keep going. right now I have 2 kids at home. One is 6 years old and the other one is 12 years old. And they're depending on me. So for me, it's super hard to come to college because I have a part-time job. I have to take care of my children and be here. And last semester, I didn't have enough assistance. I had to pay some of my books from my pocket. And this semester, I have applied for some grants and scholarship, but I haven't heard anything. So far, I think I've been doing kind of good, maybe A's and B's. And as I have a 6-year-old and he's so hyperactive, hyper. So for me, it's super hard to do the homework. So I have to stay maybe till 1 or 2 in the morning writing papers by hand and then come here to the college and type the papers. So it's not easy for me, but I saw the need out there for a bilingual, like social, human services, because everywhere I go, they don't have bilingual, like workers and I've been translating for a lot of my friends, but I'm not making any money doing that. So that's why I decided to come here to the college and start with a human services degree. And Jean, she's been very helpful with me, and we've been sharing, about human services with the students from high school. And I try to volunteer every time I can. And right now, this is my 3rd semester helping out the adult education, teaching English. So if this semester I don't get, the help I need, I think this will be the end of my career. And my 2 kids at home, they're always waiting for mommy, like to share what I learned here at college. And my 12-year-old, he's super proud. And the 6-year-old, he always sits with me to do my homework. So I'm just talking not just for me, because most of the students in our class, they're adults, and they're depending on the financial aid. So I think this is all I have to say. Thank you.
I just want to emphasize that from the very beginning, we said this was a nonpartisan event, and I really appreciate Representative Long being here today. And as you've demonstrated several times, you and I visited in your office in Streeter, you've been on campus for several events, you've had a chance to interact with faculty and staff, and now you have a chance to hear from our students. So we feel very confident that you'll do everything you can to carry the message back to Springfield about the importance of funding for community colleges overall, and let's face it, especially for Illinois Valley Community College. So if you have any words you'd like to share with us, and/or any questions that anyone has for us, we'd be more than happy to do our best to answer them. But do me a favor and say welcome to Representative Jerry Long. Right away, I knew we were in pretty good shape, because right away you made a commitment to serve on the Community College Affordability Committee. And as everybody knows, when the state doesn't pay its share, then that shifts the burden to the students. You wanted to remain affordable along with the high quality, and I know that you'll work hard on our behalf. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Doctor.
Visit with us for a few minutes. Thank you.
As the doctor said, I do serve on the Community College Access and Affordability, one of my committees, and it is a concern of mine. One of the things that is extremely important about a society is we have to have an educated society. It's extremely important for manufacturing, it's extremely important for business in the state of Illinois. And we are lacking big time in that area. Now, Mr. Phillips brought this up earlier. Last year we lost 95,000 in population, a net loss of 25,000. That's a net gain loss of 25,000. That's larger than the city of Ottawa. We can't sustain that, nor can our revenue coming into the state of Illinois sustain that. We have a major problem. We need to make Illinois business friendly, that is true. And we need to make sure that our kids have a proper education. We are chasing kids out of the state of Illinois. They're leaving here. There aren't any opportunities. We can change that. I was really optimistic about Govenor Rauner and Speaker Madigan meeting last Wednesday. I don't know, I haven't been down in Springfield, so I don't know what came of that conversation. We do need a budget, yes. According to Article 8, Section 2, Paragraph B, we must write a balanced budget. We definitely need a balanced budget, and we don't need certain areas to pay for that balanced budget. That's true. But what's happening right now in Springfield is we see a lot of bills that are coming through that are excessive spending. And we're trying to do what we can to stop that, so that we can afford to pay for our public sector jobs and our education, and make sure that we give our children the proper education. That's extremely important. I guarantee you, I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that we have the general fund that you so need, and also the MAP grants. Those are extremely important. I do make you that promise. I'll do what I can to fight for that and community college and affordability, access and affordability. We're going to work really hard on getting the budget. We don't need a stopgap budget that keeps digging the hole up, folks. Because when we do that, what we do is we make it even more difficult for Doctor to be able to balance his budget and for us to be able to get the monies that he needs to run the school. Okay? So we got to stop digging that hole. And I will bring that message straight to Springfield, and we'll do what we can. I'll make you that promise.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Questions, comments, thoughts, anything you'd like to share with any of us up front? Yes, Tina.
I just wanted to speak on behalf, there's been a lot of mention of MAP grants, and I work in disability services here, and I just want to speak on behalf of the need to maintain the high quality support services we have here at the college, as well as excellent faculty. This morning alone, I've worked with issues of home insecurity, mental health issues. I've worked with students who come in this semester who nearly fell off the edge because of mental health issues, housing issues, transportation issues. And that's just this morning alone. These are the things that are circling back around. Again, today, career program choice, people wondering what they're doing and where they're going, and then transfer issues, is what they're going to do here work out to move forward? And without the people here who do the work to wrap around the students, many of whom are probably getting the MAP grant, I don't know for sure, and the excellent faculty, these students aren't going to be here. And I know that for a fact because that's what students have told me, not just this morning, but there's so much evidence, strangely, this morning that showed up in the office. So I wanted to speak on behalf of the need to fund that and keep that going, because that's what keeps people in these seats a lot of times.
Well said. Thank you. Other questions, thoughts? Patty?
Hi, I'm Patty. I'm the Director of Financial Aid, and I wanted to piggyback on a couple of things that were said. First, I'd like to point out the MAP grant covers, for those that have it, roughly 40% of their tuition here. So it's not a small drop in the bucket for the students that receive it. Without it, two things are happening. Well, maybe more than two things, but adult students who primarily use that money for childcare, transportation, they don't have it anymore. If they can't handle some of the living expense that they have to do in order to come here, they will not come here. The option to that, of course, is to now do what we've tried so hard to do at our school, which is funnel students into student loans. We pride ourselves on having as few students having student loans here as possible, so that when they transfer on to the four-year school and they have to take out those student loans in order to cover housing and added expenses, that they come out with a far smaller debt repayment and ability to pay, therefore, a lesser default rate on our students. If we start piling student loans on them now, then they're going to become that statistic of the student that leaves school with $25,000 to $30,000 in debt. So that MAP grant really, when it starts to compound with what the options are without it, becomes even more tragic that it's not here.
Well said. Thank you, Patty. Other comments, thoughts, questions? Yes.
I just wanted to speak on behalf of adult education. My name's Cindy, I'm on staff in adult ed here, and as Ms. Gama pointed out, often adult education is the first door open to a community college or a college education. So our program is federally and state grant funded, and I just want to make sure that people understand that it's part of the college's budget and is a part of the state's budget that is dependent on those federal funds being matched. So we've been at risk along with these last 2 fiscal years and had to cut our services and have been impacted greatly by this budget crisis.
I can tell you that approximately 3 weeks ago, when Representative Long was on campus and we were giving him a tour of the facilities, we stopped and we visited with folks over in adult ed and emphasized a point that we've made with our board of trustees over the years and others, and that is that unfortunately, at least 10% of the IVCC district is made up of people who never had a chance to get a high school diploma. And so, when people start talking about eliminating programs and the funding isn't there for adult ed, then many of us have a real problem with that. So that's got to be a priority. And it's the stepping stone to people being able to move forward,
Yes.
get their high school equivalency, and take college-bearing courses and move on. So I'm happy that Cindy spoke up, and I'm glad that you are supportive of adult education, Representative Long.
To add to that, it goes back to what I was talking about before, and that is that a good economy depends upon a good education, and it starts right straight from high school, okay? Dr. Corcoran knows that I'm a big supporter of the trades programs as well. By the way, he's done a fantastic job on the trades programs here. He's doing a good job, I think. He's doing fantastic. But, so I believe that education it starts before they get here. So I agree with you. I think that that's extremely important to make sure that they have the proper tools to be able to make it here.
Yes, please, Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin. I'm an academic dean here. And Representative Long, I want to know what dates are on your personal calendar for the next 2 months before the fiscal year closes. Could you tell us so we could be following the news and we can know what's happening? Because we only have 2 months before the fiscal year closes. What are the key dates coming up that we need to be aware of?
Well, what we should be doing is having a budget by the end of May. Okay, is when we should have the budget. Actually, everything has fallen into line already. The governor has presented his budget. The GOMD's presented their budget. He's done his budget announcement on the floor. So the only thing we're waiting for right now is for us, to be able to come up with a budget. Okay, and it's progressing very slow. So for the next month, I will be in session. Okay, well until the end of May. And then after that, if we don't have a budget, chances are we'll probably be back for summer session, okay, to try to figure out what we're going to do. I'm very optimistic that we'll have something by the end of May. I've seen some of my counterparts across the aisle reaching out to us, and so we're going to just keep working it and making sure that we come up with a final solution. As far as my calendar, I don't know if it's open to the public, but it's very full. For the next 2 or 3 months, it's chock full.
Yeah, I'm confident in saying that you're going to give it everything you have for the next month through the month of May, or to hopefully end this month, this session, with what we need to get the job done. And not only to finish up fiscal year 17, as Jay said a little while ago, and keeping in mind it's more than MAP funding, it's operating funds as well. But also some reasonable assumptions, even if they, I hate to put it this way, but even if they are pared back from what we had been getting in fiscal years 15, 14, 13, yeah, something more than only 27% like we got last year. We can do better. And these are the folks that depend upon all 14 of our legislators. And I'm happy that you're here to hear their concerns and make sure that you go back and carry the mail on our behalf. So, thank you.
Yes, if I could add something that I read about today, and it's been talked about off and on all during the spring is something that sounds great, but makes me really, really worried, and that is that there'll be a trade-off of an income tax increase for a property tax freeze. And the reason that makes me nervous is because I can see the property tax freeze going through, and then the state doesn't follow through by giving us the money to make up what they said they were going to give us. So they say, you know, I'm very concerned that the state's going to tie our hands on the with the property tax freeze and then not follow through with the revenue that we would need to make up for whatever we're giving up with the property tax freeze. That makes me really, really nervous because I feel like the board here at the college, and I serve on a school board, we are very, very careful and sensitive about raising property taxes. We only do it when we need the money. And in fact, the way we build the budget is figure out how can we operate, and then that essentially determines how much we ask the local property taxpayers to kick in, and we're very sensitive to that. And then the state, who hasn't been careful about spending within their means, says, we're going to tie your hands on the one source of revenue that you can control. And with the college, the other source, of course, is tuition. So it just makes me very, very nervous to think that this property tax freeze could go through, and then in a year they say, you know, that money that we said we were going to give you, you know, we're not going to be able to afford that after all, and then we're stuck with this property tax freeze that was part of the deal. That makes me very, very nervous, very nervous.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, Mike. Any other? Yes, please. Quentin.
Hey, Representative Long, I'm from Streeter as well. I actually just moved back, so I just wanted to share that when I grew up, I went to Woodland and came here to IVCC and had Mike Phillips actually as an instructor, and then moved away for quite a while. When I was getting ready to move back to Central Illinois, which I love this area, I couldn't wait to get back, and the very first question every single person I spoke to asked me was, why? And it's because I know this area is great. I know that it's wonderful, it's been good to my folks, it's been good to friends, but unfortunately, if I were to be asked that question now, it'd be very difficult to answer because what I could always fall back on is I got a wonderful education, both at Woodland High School, at IVCC, and I was able to move on and look at other options. And Mike said earlier about the downward spiral. What we see, what could potentially happen is if we start to lose funding, not only math, like Patty said, but we start pushing students to student loans, it just keeps compounding the interest on everything they're doing. It keeps, not financially interest, but it just keeps compounding, and everybody starts to struggle, and especially in a rural district. And I know firsthand, and you know firsthand, Representative Long, it's not like we can go down the road and go find something else. We can't just go to another town or whatever. The IVCC is the option for students, and especially when you look at what's hurting K-12 schools and then IVCC, it's just scarier and scarier. And so when you talk about the state budget and we don't have one, and people are scared, I mean, people are genuinely scared, and that's really difficult. So that's all I have to say.
You know, thank you for being from Woodland. That's where I'm from. That's where I want my kids went to school at. And I'm very optimistic about the direction. I'm hoping that we can pull it out because I love Illinois as well. Okay, this is where my kids, my grandkids are, and so not to speak down in the mouth about what's going on, you know. As I said before, we're chasing people out of here. We don't want to be over negative about it, okay? We want to be optimistic, and we want to make sure that we turn things around. And you know, you guys you're preaching to the choir. You know, education is extremely important. And like I've promised already, I will be doing what I can to get things accomplished. And thank you for being from work.
Sure.
Anything else? I know Representative Long said he had another meeting coming up this afternoon, so you probably have to go here shortly. But any other? Yes, please.
Jerry?
Yes.
Representative Long, I'm Ivan Baker, President of the Economic Development Corporation for North Central Illinois. We are very grateful for your support for economics and a strong economy in the area. It's nice to hear that as an economist, as you don't always hear that from a legislator. You know, obviously, everything we do is important to broaden the tax base. You understand that?
Yes.
And so that one pillar, Jerry, as you talked about, the private sector and paying taxes. We don't want to put more taxes on the people that are already here. We just want more people to come in, have opportunities with more jobs. We want more business to come in here, so we have more people paying income tax, and we have more people having good jobs, and we have more businesses paying tax. If we can help that part of the funding, that's great. And that's what we exist for. We're the only marketing agency for the region pushing for new jobs. I've been in this business for 36 years. My wife and I moved here to Illinois 16 years ago. And the sad thing is that we have an appallingly low number of prospects looking at Illinois right now. It's sad to see the number of people that have left the state, that if they had left, they'd be paying income tax and property tax. We've got to take care of our colleges. Everybody here is working so hard, you know, we all are proud. And in particular, I don't say this very often to Jerry, and I should. I live in a community that has 4 community colleges in Tinley Park. I work for the region, but my wife has a job downtown Chicago. We live in Tinley Park. But we have 4 community colleges, and 2 of them are in dire straits, terrible straits. And it's admirable to see the strength and the leadership and the hard work of everybody in this room and the other faculty. And look, the students, they care about this area, and they need you. And we need you, and we need to all work together. We are dedicated to do whatever is necessary to keep attracting business to our area. But if we don't take care of our education, don't create an environment that's good for our workforce, they're not looking. But I'll be honest with you, this has been some of the hardest things for me in a marketing position, to be able to attract people to even look at Illinois, because they're very concerned about the uncertainty and the fact that education and the workforce seems to not be getting the priority that I know you and most of the legislature fully understand. So anything we can do to help you, we do appreciate it, and know that the college is critical to our economic development future. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to add to that. And thank you for taking on a topic that I love with all my heart. It's economics. And when I start talking economics, most generally I see eyeballs roll back in the back of their head and they start to fall asleep. But anyway, there is this thing called the invisible hand of economics. We as legislators have to be careful about what we do when we pass legislation, because we sometimes don't see the ramifications of our decisions until 5, 10 years down the line, sometimes 15 years down the line. And that's what we have had over many years, many decades in the state of Illinois. We have to be extremely careful about how we proceed with a budget, if you will. And I like what you're saying. Economics is extremely important to our economics. I mean, economics is important to education, and education is important to economics. You know, vice versa. And we have to take care of both of them. You know, while we're taking care of one, we have to take care of the other. And I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Feel free to call my office anytime, anybody.
We appreciate your visiting with us today. If you have any thoughts, further questions, anything you'd like to talk one-on-one with Representative Long, please feel free to do so. And from all of us, thank you for your support of IVCC. Have a good afternoon. Thanks.